In the summer of 1967, Liota Camp was brutally slain in her home in Des Moines, Iowa. The crime remains a cold case, and the family still hopes for justice. Leota Mae Hodges was born on January 20th, 1942, in Kirksville, Missouri. She grew up in Missouri and married Lloyd Raymond Ray Camp in 1961. The couple had 3 children together: Kevin, Brenda, and Christine. The family resided in Des Moines, Iowa, where Ray worked as an equipment operator for the Iowa Employment Security Commission, while Leota was a housewife. The family was shattered when Leota was brutally and mysteriously slain in the family home on July 10th, 1967. In the morning of July 10th, 1967, Ray kissed his wife goodbye before leaving for work for the day. Later that morning, when the clouds and sky cleared, 4-year-old Kevin Camp and 3-year-old Brenda Camp went to play outside in the backyard. A little while later, their mother went outside to check on them, as well as hang laundry on the clothesline. Shortly after noon, Kevin and Brenda went inside for lunch. 3-month-old Christine lay on a white blanket feeding from her bottle, but Leota was nowhere to be seen. Before long, the 2 older kids discovered their mother in the home's front bedroom, lying face down on the bed. To their horror, the bed was soaked in blood, and a knife was protruding from Leota's back. Kevin pulled the knife from her body, and he and Brenda ran outside, yelling, "Mommy's bleeding!" A couple neighbors, Mary Grow and Nell Edwards, responded to their screams and then made the horrifying discovery for themselves. In addition to being stabbed, Leota had been bound with neckties around her hands, neck, and ankles, and another necktie was stuffed in her mouth, serving as a gag. Emergency services rushed the young mother to Broadlawn's Polk County Hospital, now Broadlawn's Medical Center. But Leota was pronounced dead on arrival. Her husband was summoned by authorities to meet them at the hospital, where they notified him of his wife's death. Dr. Leo Luca, the Polk County medical examiner, found that Leota was stabbed 4 times in the back, and all 4 wounds penetrated her lungs. He stated that she died from internal hemorrhaging, and there wasn't any evidence of sexual assault. Dr. Luca later said that he believed the killer was a kook, or pervert, who got scared and panicked. Neighbors reported seeing a handsome but strange man in a black Ford Mustang parked near the camp residence around 11 a.m. on the day of the slaying. He was described as Caucasian, with a good tan, 5 feet 8 inches to 5 feet 10 inches tall, brown curly hair, a stocky build, in his early to mid-20s, and wearing a brown and white plaid shirt with dark trousers. Neighbors also reported that the stranger cut diagonally across the camp's front yard and entered the house, and left shortly before noon. Dr. Luca believed that the killer entered the home while Leota was hanging clothes on the clothesline, and she returned inside sooner than expected. He also theorized that the killer threatened baby Christine if Leota screamed or struggled, since no sign of a struggle was found. A sketch of the suspect was released after neighbors assisted Detective Robert Weichman with compiling a sketch. Within the following 4 days of public release of the suspect sketch, police received 500 calls with tips. A few weeks before her senseless death, Leota called Ray while he was work, saying she'd received an obscene phone call from a stranger. When she answered the phone, a male voice asked, "Where you been?" Thinking it might be a friend joking around, Leota replied that she'd been feeding the baby, to which the stranger replied, "I thought maybe you were..." logically, followed by an obscene expression which Ray refused to share. The couple's phone number wasn't even listed in the phone book. It was assumed to be a call to the wrong number, and no further calls were received. Despite multiple tips to police and a $2,500 reward offered by Ray Camp, no arrests have ever been made for the horrid death of Leota Camp. Since there was no evidence of sexual assault and nothing was missing from the home, there's no known motive for Leota's murder. Her family never returned to the house. Daughter Brenda still resides in the Des Moines area, but to this day has never driven past the home. When Brenda was reaching her 50s, she finally got a thick file about her mother's case. Around this time, she received a call from a man in Maryland who studied serial killer James Mike Mitchell DeBartoleben, who died in prison in 2011 after being charged for multiple murders and other crimes. The caller had seen the police sketch, and he said it resembled Mike. Unfortunately, the file hasn't revealed anything useful to Brenda. Another neighbor of the Camp family, Carol Wutherick, believes that she was the intended victim. On the day of Leota's slaying, Carol left home to purchase a new car, leaving her kids with a babysitter, who informed her of the news when she returned home. Carol is convinced the whole thing was a mistake made by a hitman, who was supposed to come after her. Carol stated, "I had a gut feeling my life was in danger. I went to a dog pound and got a German Shepherd for protection. That is how afraid I was." Ray Camp passed away in the summer of 2024. His funeral took place in West Des Moines, Iowa, and he was buried in Scobie Cemetery in Pollock, Missouri, next to Liota. Even though Ray remarried and spent 53 years with second wife Carolyn, he remained hopeful for justice, as did his children and Carolyn herself, who all continue to hold on.